where on earth is my unitard? Welcome to Show People, the podcast that shines a spotlight on the UK performing arts industry, covering the latest news, industry issues, what to see and do, and of course showcasing theatrical talent, whilst always trying to inform, educate and entertain. Hello company, my name is Andrew Keats, I'm a director and your host. Mamma mia, have we got a show for you. Now, today's guest has literally only just landed back in the UK after appearing all over the world in the international tour of Wicked, playing Madam Morrible. Thousands have seen her as Tanya in the West End production of Mamma Mia, not to mention Acorn Antiques, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and get this, she was even in an episode of London's Burning. Go mad and give me a pre-recorded studio audience for the utterly wicked Miss Kim Ismay. Woo! Welcome to the show!
Hurrah! I want my own laugh track and applause everywhere I go.
Only the best for you, Dame Ismay.
Yes!
Coming up on today's show, Kim and I will be discussing audience etiquette. Should the auditorium be a place of silence, or do we need to loosen up and let patrons take selfies during the Act 1 finale? I'll be getting my theatrical tips out of things to see and do this October 2017. There's music from composer Alexander Beaumonge, performed by Gina Beck, and of course, throughout the show, I'll be interviewing Kim all about her life and career. Welcome to the Show People podcast. Welcome to the show, Kim.
Hello.
Good to have you home.
Thank you for having me. I'm quite pleased to be home, actually, and I have been gadding about since I've been home. I went on holiday twice.
So where did Wicked end up taking you?
We started in Bradford at the Alhambra Theatre, and then we went to Singapore.
Bradford to Singapore.
Yep. And certainly Singapore was a lot hotter, a lot more humid. And with my hair, I swear I looked like a great big dandelion clock for 9 weeks of fur. And then we went to Hong Kong for Christmas and New Year. And then we went to Manila. And then we went to China for 3 months. So that was very interesting. Shanghai and then Beijing and then finally in Guangzhou.
Wow. And how long were you away for?
A year.
A whole year?
A whole year.
That's...
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I came back in between once or twice, but not every single time.
So what are you doing now you're back? You're just catching up?
I went on a holiday. Everyone said, "Oh, you'll be glad to be in your house." I said, "Yes, it was," and it was still tidy. Those that know me will know I'm a particularly untidy person. I really try really, really hard to stay tidy, and it doesn't always work. So when I came back from tour, my house was still tidy because I hadn't been living in it. My house sitters had been living in it, and they're tidy. They're tidier than I am. So I came back to find my house. It's wonderful. And now I've been in there on my own and it's all gone feral again.
You haven't noticed little things like, oh, hang on a second, I used to have 6 wine glasses and now there are 5. Or...
No, actually they restocked the wine rack as well. It was brilliant. They're very well trained.
Gosh, you should go on international tour more often if you get a larder full of wine at the end.
They're brilliant.
Now, for anybody listening to the show going, who is this Kim Ismay?
Who is she?
Where did you find her? Well, for our...
Don't say under a rock.
No, for our loyal listeners who have been listening to the show, and I'm absolutely over the moon to say that checking the statistics, and we've only been going a few weeks, we now have nearly 2,000 downloads, which is just
well done, people.
Extraordinary.
Tell your friends. We need to make it 3.
Those of you who listen to the show know, against common popular belief, I am not a fan of a wanky introduction. Too messy. Far too messy. Far too messy to have a wanky introduction. Yes. So I have, and you can hear...
Oh, it's rustly paper. Oh, no. Yes.
A copy of your CV. By just digging a little bit deeper, I found a couple of credits as well that perhaps you didn't include for a couple of reasons.
Maybe, who knows? Who knows?
Strange, but true.
Okay. Oh, strange, but true. That was fantastic. I was marvellous in that.
Ghost hunter, apparently.
Yes. No, actually, Terence Hardiman was the ghost hunter.
Oh, right.
I was the person who had been haunted.
What, physically? What you
no,
had
not physically haunted. No, physically, that's a whole other film that I wasn't in. No, it was a thing about a woman who used to reenact... hauntings in well-known places or people who had ghostly experiences, and Michael Aspel used to be
terrified me as a child.
Man in black with a little book and everything. And this was about the Royal Albert Hall, and so we filmed overnight in the Royal Albert Hall.
Was it terrifying?
Absolutely terrifying. I've never been so scared, and I'm completely susceptible. I have the heebie-jeebies. I can't watch a horror film. I scream regularly at things that are mildly frightening. And it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. And I had to walk across one of the unpopulated, because it's completely dark, except for a very small film crew with a very small light. And I had to walk across this completely cavernous room that people don't get to walk through, where this girl had this terrible thing happen to, this ghostly thing. And I didn't have to do any acting at all to look terrified. I thought, please, I just want to go back downstairs and go home now.
It really made me smile, because I have memories of watching that as a little boy. No, I'm not trying to show up your age there. But I just remember being in my pyjamas and begging my parents to watch Strange But True.
Oh, it was scary.
Nightmare for weeks. Nightmares for absolute weeks. And it's possibly because of you.
All because of me. Many people have nightmares because of me.
So, it's now time for, good segue here, for me to give you a nightmare.
Oh, no.
I've decided to, because I know you've been listening, because now the shows have been going out, people are trying to prepare themselves.
Oh, I know, and you can't. This is the thing. And as I said to you, I'm terribly competitive, and I want to do really well, but I have this horrible feeling that you're going to catch me out on nearly everything.
Well, I'm going to help by telling you the actual show.
Right.
But it's going to be up to you. If it's a musical, I would like you to sing one line from that show.
Gosh, you're horrible.
And if it's a TV or a play, you can give me a line of dialogue.
Are any of these old? Because seriously, my retentive memory wanes.
Some of them are.
Oh, okay. Let's see what we can. I'm up for the challenge. So I stand a chance of getting a couple of things right, at least. Okay.
Okie dokie. So, Kim Ismay,
yes,
your first Show People challenge starts now.
Right.
Wicked.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I'm Madam Morrible. Welcome, new student. Oh, you want me to sing? Sorry. Do you want me to sing something that I sing, or just anything?
Anything you can remember.
Sings? It's time to try defying gravity.
Amazing.
Yes.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
You're my little pretty face.
Hot Mikado.
The hour of gladness is dead and it's gone.
How the Other Half Loves.
Oh, no, I can't remember anything about that, apart from the fact I had to serve somebody a boiled egg.
Is that a pass?
It's a pass.
Okay, Dotty Otley and Noises Off.
Oh, yes, sardines. No, wait a minute. So I leave the sardines or I take the sardines? I leave the sardines. Oh, it's very...
Acorn Antiques.
Mrs...
Is that a pass?
Mrs. O. No, it's not a pass. It's not a pass. Hang on, don't rush me. I get terribly flustered. Well, I was ironing, and Mr. Overall slipped on a bar of soap, and he's something went up his kick plate. I can't remember. It was terrible. Yes, carry on.
I love that you had the sardines moment in Noises Off.
Oh, I loved it. It was hilarious. Bloody sardines were the bane of my life. Yes.
So, not too bad. I think we got about 6 credits.
6 credits. We got through 6.
But it is almost like I tried to make it an impossible challenge, just as a baptism by fire.
How the Other Half Loves. I can't remember any of the dialogue at all.
So there's a few here. So back when the world was black and white,
people went
to
after 1926 when I was in the folderols. Yes.
So tell me about being Magenta in the Rocky Horror Picture Show at English Theatre Frankfurt.
I love that show. Oh, God, there are seminal shows in your life and you think, I loved every second of that. I'd always wanted to do the Rocky Horror Show. I love the film. I've always loved the film ever since I was a teenager. And I couldn't believe my luck. And I got this job and went out to live in Frankfurt. And they were supposed to do the show originally for 3 months. And then there was the Christmas show. And then there was the 2 other shows that took up the spring season, sort of the January, February and the March, April one. But the bookings went so well, they cancelled the Christmas show.
Right.
And extended Rocky Horror Show. Now, that's where all of those people had got Christmas jobs to go to, so they had to recast it very hurriedly. So 1 minute I was singing science fiction double feature in a church hall somewhere auditioning, and then the next minute I was in Germany. And I thought, hang on a second, what's going on? And we extended over Christmas, and the bookings were still off the charts. And they said, well, we'll cancel the first one of the spring season, and then the second one of the spring season, we're going to do Blythe Spirit. I thought, well, that's a little bit of a change.
Nice change, yeah.
Yes. Would you play Madam McCarty? I said, yes, I would. I'm far too young, I said, flicking my hair back. But then, of course, Madam McCarty never happened because the bookings for the Rocky Horror Show were ridiculous. People queuing for returns every night. And we played straight the way through till June.
I'd quite like to find in a later Show People episode everyone who were in those productions that got cancelled, so they can go, well, you won't believe it, we had this coming up, and that bloody Rocky Horror Picture Show kept continuing.
Absolutely. There must be loads of people who have had their noses well put out of joint. But unfortunately, I was the lucky one who got to carry on being Magenta.
There is one credit I would like to ask about.
Yes.
Tell me about the critically acclaimed production that was Lautrec.
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me about Lautrec. Now, here's the thing.
Go on.
Lautrec should have been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The design and the staging was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like a painting, literally a live Lautrec painting. The cast, I thought, were marvellous. Charles Aznavour wrote the music. And again, some of the music was beautiful. He wasn't very happy about us cutting any of the verses to make any of the songs shorter, which would have helped a little. He got a bit gallically upset about that. But again, beautiful music. For me, I'm speaking only for myself here, the problem was the book. And then it got cut because it was running very late. The show was about 17 days, I think. It just went on and on and on. Yet it was just like, it went on far too long. And so it was cut. Unfortunately, the writers, for me, again, cut it in such a way that some of the things that made sense, that made the whole thing make sense, went. And it wasn't a successful book. I think that's how I can leave that with you.
I think you're being very, very...
I'm being really, really, really kind. It was awful. The book was awful.
The fear and horror that I can see in Kim Ismay's eyes
The
right
book
now.
was really, really not up to the par of the rest of the production. And it struggled along. I think we played for 5 months, which I think was not bad going, considering.
Hello, my dears. You have the ineffable and probably undeserved pleasure of listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keats. This is Stephen Fry wishing you a wonderful listen. Thank you.
So it's time for Kim and I to get on our soapbox.
Oh, yes. I have a permanent soapbox. As the older I get, the more ranty I get.
What are we going to be moaning about today, Kim?
It's not so much moaning. It's a little discussion, a little bright discussion. And it's on both sides of the footlights, shall we say. I know they don't exist, but you know what I mean. It's theatre etiquette.
Yes.
Or theaticate, as I heard someone call it the other day, which did make me laugh.
I'm actually going to introduce a new sound to the Show People podcast.
Oh, no, sorry. Just, that's...
Theaticate.
It wasn't me. I just stirred it all up. Theatre etiquette. I'm all for people being relaxed in an auditorium and having a lovely time. With social media, everybody is obsessed with taking photographs and posting it on either Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or whatever they do. I understand that. It's all very lovely. Here we are going into the theatre. Isn't that lovely? But people are so keen to record what they're doing and saying, look at me, I'm doing this. They're never in the moment. So while you're trying to sneak a video of somebody singing something or doing something, you're not engaged in that relationship that you have with the audience, without wishing to sound too trendy. It's very self-indulgent. Sometimes you say, oh, it's a special relationship with the audience, but it is. Otherwise, you may as well go to the cinema and watch a 2D experience. Our performances aren't set in stone. They change with what we're given back in the theatre. And if an audience is with you, and you know when they're with you, if they're really with you, it changes your performance, it changes your energy, and then you change their energy, and it's a two-way thing. And without us, there's no point them sitting in rows staring at nothing. And without them, there's no point us getting all dressed up and careening about. It would be just like a dry tech, which is awful. Some people love technical rehearsals. I really don't like them.
I'm yet to meet anybody.
I know a couple of people who say, "Oh, I love the technical rehearsal period." They might be lying. I don't know.
It's funny you say that. Where one actor who will remain nameless during a tech will quite contentedly get their phone out whilst everybody else is working and just start playing. I nearly said start playing Snake, but
I was going to say Tetris or something. That shows our age there.
The days of Nokia are over.
I know.
I think look,
yes.
If anybody that knows Latin, which will be most of our listeners, I'm sure. Of course,
sure. Yes.
Auditorium comes from auditorius, which is anything that is related to listening.
To listening, I know, and it's. If you've paid loads and loads of money to go to the theatre, I'm assuming you kind of want to be there. So why would you spend those 2.5 hours on your phone, on Facebook, updating your status to having a lovely time at the theatre when you're not, because you're not listening or watching? And why would you bring the most unlikely foodstuffs?
Oh, don't get me
to sustain you.
Maltesers?
Maltesers is one thing.
Doritos?
Large bags of crisps
Yes.
are the bugbear of, and they're always in the front row.
But I don't think you can just blame the audience members there, because there are so many theatres that are selling these products to begin with. And I think
I'm with you there. And if you can't not eat. I mean, everyone says an auditorium is no smoking. So people know they can't smoke for that 2.5 hours. They can nip out in the interval for a quick cigarette or an e-cigarette or whatever their stuff is, or a gin and tonic. But if you can't go for 2 hours without eating, really?
The e-cigarettes is a good point. I've sat in auditoriums where people are vaping throughout a show.
No.
Oh, yeah.
If you can't smoke in an auditorium, you shouldn't be able to e-vape either. And I know it's a different thing. It's not the same thing as a cigarette before somebody starts going, oh, you don't know the difference. But it's distracting and it's rude.
So
I'm sorry, it's rude. It really is.
So I was at the good old Churchill Theatre Bromley a few years ago.
There.
Fabulous,
Yes.
fabulous theatre. And I was going to see, I can't even remember what it was. I just remember it was there were about 15 of us in the auditorium. And I know it was a play because the doors went and we had about 8 people come in late. And I get it. It's not great, but it happens.
It happens.
And I'd rather, people come in late quietly at the back and then be kept out of a theatre.
Exactly.
So I sort of clocked that and then went back to watching the play. But then it wasn't the noise that offended me, but my nose. Because all I could hear and smell was McDonald's.
No, they hadn't brought McDonald's into the
Every
theatre.
single person had brought a brown bag of McDonald's.
They should have been like, you see...
Where are the ushers?
Where were the ushers saying, excuse me? And in some theatres, I mean, the ushers are fantastic. They're on people with cameras and they think... And I know that they may have been late and they may have been hungry, but really, it's not the cinema. You're not at home. You can't explain the plot loudly to the person next to you because there are people around you that are wanting to listen, maybe. We had a lot of problems in Mamma Mia.
Of course.
With people joining in.
Coming on stage?
There were a few attempts. People joining in with the singing, sometimes not in the same key or at the same time.
That was just other cast members.
It was other cast members. People shouting advice.
Never. What do they say?
Oh, yes. Oh, no. Don't you listen to him. Don't. Sorry. No, it's not audience participation. We'll tell you when you can get up and dance. People getting up and dancing and saying, come on, everybody, on your feet. No, I'm sorry, it's slipping through my fingers. There's a time and a place for everything. And but we all do it. We're all guilty of it to a certain degree on the selfie thing and the photographs of thing and posting things on social media. We all want to be part of the bigger gang and go, look, I'm doing this. Isn't this marvellous? I'm having a lovely time. But sometimes you just have to just go. If you're going to go to the theatre, just commit.
It's easy for us, people who go to the theatre regularly and work there, to go, why on earth are you doing that? Because it's an accepted theatre thing.
Yeah.
But I do wonder how How can we educate people to go?
Some of it, to be honest, I'm afraid some of it is common sense. If you're listening to something that is an intense scene and it's two people having a little tiny bit of delicate underscoring and it's emotional, or there's no underscoring because it's a play and two people are having a really intense moment, why would you choose that time to put your hand in a bag of Doritos? Why can't you just wait till, if someone's singing a song, they start to sing a song and you know it's going to get big in the middle eight, or you know there's going to be applause at the end, by all means rip open that bag of whatever it is, tostados, and have a root about in them then. But don't do it in the quiet. It's just a bit of common courtesy. And we can hear you. We can hear you, audience members, talking about us. Two ladies in Mamma Mia once, who had a very in-depth conversation with pointing about my wig. Because I was the only person, Tanya's the only character that wears a full wig in the show. So, no, her hair's nice, isn't it? Oh, it's lovely. I like her hair very much. It's lovely. It's a wig. Is it? No, yes, it is. Look, see, pointing. See, now look, see around the front of her hair there, look, there's that little line, look, that's like a lace, a wig lace. Oh, so it is, both peering. What's that little thing on her head in the middle then? It's her microphone.
Now, this is gospel truth.
Yeah.
Those who...
Nothing will surprise me, whatever you say.
No, I know. Those who follow the work that I do, they know I'm a very passionate advocate for supporting people affected by HIV and AIDS.
Of course.
Now, I was at a major West End theatre for a benefit event for people living with HIV. And I was sat watching what we were watching. And I looked just in front of me, and it was sort of halfway through the first act. I noticed a guy had Grindr out on his phone and was clearly trying to hook up with somebody during the HIV benefit. And you kind of I want us to sort of scream, look, I totally sleep with whoever the hell you want.
Oh, my goodness, do what you like, but have a sense of occasion.
Yes, exactly.
But I think the other theatre etiquette, she said, refusing to join them together now after the jeering sound effect.
Etiquette.
Is the engagement with the audience also extends to outside the stage door. I don't have the amount of mail and emails and messages and presents and things that people who are well known or very, very popular
But the moment you come off that stage and there's been 1,000 people or 500 people watching you what you do,
yes,
in that moment,
yes,
you bloody are.
Yes. Because these people have been to see the show, they think they know you.
Mm.
Well, they do know you, actually, because you've just given them a bit of you. You've shared a bit of you with them. And sometimes they follow you on Twitter, they follow you on Instagram. I don't do Facebook, so no one follows me on Facebook. People I know have said, oh, can I be your friend on Facebook? No, I don't do it. I'm on Facebook in order to join a private group. I don't do Facebook. I can't stand Facebook. But I do like Twitter and I do like Instagram. And people try and send you direct messages and people try and engage with you. And I love it. I love to hear from the fans who say, we came to see the show, it's great. And people comment on my pictures, or if I post something they think is funny, like yesterday I had an amusing incident with a sachet of soy sauce, which exploded in my car. And there was an incident, let's just say everything now smells of a Chinese takeaway in my car. And a couple of my people that I know were reacting with it. And it was really lovely. And we were chatting backwards and forwards. I said, I don't want to talk about it. Don't ask me.
Don't ask his name.
Don't ask. It was awful. And lovely light banter and lovely friendly emails and friendly questions and things like that are lovely. But sometimes it can get quite intense. And you want to be the best person you can be and help people. If people often email me through my website to ask for advice about, I find it very difficult to go on stage, or I want to know which drama school to go to, or I want to know how you keep plugging away when someone says you're this or you're that or you're too much this. And I'm really the right person to ask, because I always say to people, I've been too tall, too short, too fat, too thin, too ugly, too attractive. Literally, people have said too dark, too fair, too Jewish looking, not Jewish looking enough. That was a good one. Serious, I don't know what they wanted. Too foreign looking, not foreign looking enough. All of those
Extraordinary.
things. And you are to that person on that one day. And I get a lot of people like, how do you keep going when people say this, this and this? And I will always reply. It might not be immediately, but I will always email back. I have had instances where I had somebody once who emailed me and asked me to recommend songs for them for their portfolio,
And you'd never met them before?
Oh, no, it was just someone I didn't know at all. Someone had been to see Mamma Mia, and I felt very pleased that they felt that they could talk to me. And I said, probably not the best person to ask.
Well, common sense, surely.
Because I don't know you.
Yeah.
I don't know what your voice is like. I don't know what kind of songs you like. I don't know your vocal tone or your vocal characteristic. Have you got a sense of humour? Do you suit a big blockbuster? I don't know. And he said, they said, only I've got to write this portfolio list of songs that I'm good at for my college work. And I said, well, you're going to have to find that out yourself.
Sort of defeats the point of maybe what the exercise was about.
I do get some very wonderful emails as well. And I think you're only popular. Well, being popular means that other people like you. And they're the people that are making you popular. So I think you owe a certain amount of interaction, especially at stage door, with them, because they've come a long way. They've paid a lot of money. They liked you enough to come backstage to look at you, to see you and tell you they thought and had their picture taken with you and say you're lovely. But the problem has become, and not with me, not with me. I have to say the people who come and see me are all rather lovely. I've been very, very fortunate. I've never had anybody odd or dangerous. She said, touching wood fervently, that no one then decides to come. But Carrie Hope Fletcher was talking about, she was trolled on Twitter by a woman who was very unpleasant to her, who said that she didn't come out backstage. She didn't come out of the stage door to talk to her fans in between shows, and who did she think she was? And she was this and she was that. She was really quite aggressive. We've come all the way from, I don't know, somewhere, Manchester, I think it was, or Birmingham. It was a goodly distance, and it's ruined the whole evening or the whole afternoon. She didn't come out and talk to my daughter or son or whoever it was. And Carrie Hope Fletcher very rightfully said, you bought tickets to see the show. You don't buy tickets for a meet and greet.
No.
And I think that's part of the social media problem when you do engage with people. And as I said, this is not anything to do with me because I'm a very, very fortunate person. But some people get very, very annoyed with you if you don't do what they want you to do.
Yes.
And I've seen it happen to a lot of people.
Kim, I think it's entitlement. I think it's that thing of I've spent money to be entertained. And I think that's literally as far as...
And it's true, though.
And absolutely.
They have.
But I think that's where the thought gets to. And everything else is all based upon everybody else's goodwill.
Yes.
So whether that be, and that there are people that I've seen such as David Tennant, for example, who will have just finished doing, 3 hours of an epic Shakespeare and will come out and have his picture taken with Daleks and sign things. In fact, Patrick Stewart did thinking of when you've got these big sci-fi actors like Patrick Stewart, he was doing...
They have a massive fan base.
Massive fan
base.
But Patrick Stewart does a brilliant thing when he's doing a show, because of the Star Trek following he has.
Yes.
The only thing he will sign are ticket stubs.
Oh, that's clever.
So if you bring a picture of him in Star Trek, he'll say, you haven't seen the play? I'll sign something to do with the play. So he'll sign ticket stubs. I think he'll sign programmes or whatever. But that way he knows that everyone that has come to support the play, of course, he will sign that. But when you get, and of course you've probably seen it with the celebs you've worked with, and certainly I have, is when you will get professional autograph salespeople.
Yes.
I've had this with lots of people, where they will turn up with a portfolio of different images and ask an actor to sign about 10 different 10x8s, which I think is really different to saying, can my little girl have a photograph?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I do think in between shows is difficult, because if you've got a big thing and a big show that you've just done and you're going to do another one, most of the big leads will want to have a little bit of a lie down, quickly grab something to eat, and just sit quietly for 10 minutes.
And we all know the length of the queue in Pret, which seems to be fueling the West End since the 1990s.
There are other sandwich bars.
Yes.
She said, spot the person who's worked for the BBC. It is. It's true. And if you get a message coming down from stage door saying, oh, there's some little girls outside that want to see you, of course I'm going to go up. Why would I not? Because they've enjoyed what you've done, and especially children. But adults as well, you know. But what I don't like is when, if you don't do exactly the thing that they want at the stage door, or if you say, I'm really sorry, I've got to rush off tonight because I've got something that I need to be at home for. I'm so pleased that you've been here. Oh, well, she didn't stay very long. You think, well, she's got to get home and feed the cat or go and do a radio or go and do another job or something. We all have other lives. And I as I say, I have been very lucky purely because I'm not well known.
Well, as I entirely anticipated by having Kim and I together, we are both the world's greatest tangent conversationists.
We are, aren't we?
So,
what did we start with?
I think we've sort of. I think we've agreed that theaticate is a terrible thing.
Just keep. Yeah, sorry.
Theaticate, never use it.
No. Keep your voice down. If you must have a conversation, just keep your voice down and stop eating Doritos in the front row.
So what do you think? Are we just two moaning myrtles? Do we need to calm down and realise that the auditorium is changing and actually we need to get with the times? Or do you think the auditorium is sacred? Please do get in touch. You can tweet me using the handle @AndrewKeats or tweet the show using @ShowPeopleUK and #ShowPeoplePodcast. You can send an email to info@arian-productions.com if you'd like me to read any of your views in the next episode. And what's really exciting, and people haven't necessarily signed up too much to this, but I'm hoping it's going to become a really exciting forum, go to facebook.com/showpeoplepodcast where you can join the show's listeners forum. Log on. I want to hear what really gets your goat. What's been the worst experience of audience etiquette in the theatre? Do you think audiences should be allowed to chat and take photographs during a show? Whatever you think, let's hear your views and let's get discussing theaticate.
Hello, this is Steve First, and you are listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keats. A man so marvellous, he's putting bums on seats. Whether it be parakeets eating halal meats or premier athletes submitting VAT receipts. It's the Show People podcast with Andrew Keats.
With Andrew Keats.
With Andrew Keats. Thank you, Mr. First.
With Andrew Keats.
Kim Ismay, let's start at the very beginning.
Very good place to start.
Very good. There wasn't even a sense of hesitation there.
Darling.
Tell me, this is something I actually don't know too much. Tell me about a young Kim Ismay. What was I'm going to say a little Kim Ismay, which...
I was little up to the age of about 4.5.
And then 6 foot
and then
from there on.
Hugely tall. Little Kim Ismay. How little?
Well, what was it? What's your early memories growing up of wanting to work in this business?
Just always knew I would.
Really?
Always knew I would. My mum and dad were both in Variety.
Were they?
That's how they met. Oh, you see, I love to spring a surprise on you, Mr. Keats.
Yeah.
Yes, they had a double act. They met. They were both on the same bill. And but took an instant dislike to each other, loathed each other on sight, and the rest, as they say, is history. My father was a comedian, and my mother was a sort of a comedy impressionist soubrette. She was very, very glamorous. And she was much taller than him. My dad was 5'6.5", and I'm 5'10". Those of you that know me, I'm quite a tall bird. My mum was tall as well. And you do like a well-heeled shoe as well. Oh, I love a shoe. I don't think you should be ashamed of your height. Any tall girls out there, stick those heels on and love it. And they formed a double act, and my dad was in the army in the 50s, the late 40s, early 50s, after the war, in India. And he was in a platoon of Combined Services Entertainments, CSE, and he worked with Jimmy Perry, who is a name that everybody will know, and they all were in India with a concert party, and I think you now know where It Ain't Half Hot Mum came from. And in the original show, George Layton played Solly, the comedian, the Jewish comedian. Well, that was my dad.
Wow.
And all of the characters that were in the show are person for person exactly the same as they were in. I have all the photographs. It is fascinating. I think there's some of them on my Instagram account, actually. The Boys to Entertain You, their song was actually Getting Around and Going Places. And he wanted to go into the business, but it didn't happen. It was never as easy as for everybody. And so he went into it in a semi-professional way. And he met my mum, and they had a group of people. They used to do semi-professional shows. You could be semi-professional in those days. You could do a show in the evening and have a day job. Doesn't quite, well, I think some people still do, because it's terrifying, having to try and pay your bills. So when I was little, my dad was still working. My mum stopped, and my dad was still working the comedy circuit very briefly.
How old were you and your parents then, just time-wise?
He kind of stopped when I was around 5 or 6. And then he died when I was 9. So it was he was only 42. So that was a little bit of a shake-up.
Can I ask what happened? Was it?
Oh, heart attack. Yeah, had a heart attack. And but I always knew I'd gone to dancing and thought, oh yes, this is what I want to do. I want to do dancing. I want to be a ballerina. Well, that was scotched by the time I was about 7. I was already too tall. And I don't have the physique of a ballerina. I had knobbly knees and no turnout, and it was just never going to be. And then I thought, I quite like this tap dancing malarkey, and did a lot of tap and modern stage, as it was called then. Later on, jazz.
I much prefer modern stage.
Modern stage. Actually, it was called Stage Branch when I first did it.
Stage Branch?
The Stage Branch of ISTD.
Oh, right.
It was very much the poorer relation to the Cicchetti and the ballet. I went to drama, and I kind of always knew that it was the thing I was going to do.
Whereabouts were you growing up?
Kingston in Surrey. And I went to school in Kingston, junior school, senior school. And then I had a place at Bristol Old Vic Theatre School, and we had no money. And in those days, there were no grants for non-degree subjects. Of course, you can have arts degrees now for drama, but you couldn't then, unless it was combined honours with English. So I had to turn my place down, which was awful. But it's very difficult to not live your life thinking, if only that had happened. If that had happened, then this would have happened. But it's not always the way. And you have to pick up whatever hand you've been dealt and play it to your best ability. I took a year out and went to University of Kent at Canterbury, who did a degree course which was performing arts, and it was built on the American system where you make your own course of major and minor and subsidiary subjects and bits and bobs. So I did a variety of all sorts of things.
Was it useful? Did you find that course gave you what you needed, or?
Some of it, I think, did.
What in particular? What stays with you?
I did a mime course with Trestle Theatre and with Ben Benison. I studied mime with Ben Benison, who was incredible. It taught me to read faster, because it was very much an academic degree. So we had all sorts of things that had to be submitted to the university at the right time, as well as all our practical stuff. So it was long hours, but it was worth it. But it taught me to be resourceful, taught me to get on with things, taught me to have really good fun, and taught me to pull a really good pint of Guinness, because I worked in the student union bar. Oh, I pour a mean Guinness. But some of it wasn't very useful. Some of the teachers weren't useful for me. Useful for some people, yes, not for me. And then I went out, and in those days, back in the dark ages, you had to have your equity card, before you could work. But then you had to work before you could get your equity cards. So I went abroad for a year and was a showgirl.
No, where did you go?
I was Spain, all over Spain and Greece.
As a dancer or
Yes.
as a...
As a showgirl. I was a showgirl. I was sequins and feathers and backpacks of plumes and walking about looking fabulous and jewels everywhere and some dance numbers, but 3 of us were the main showgirls and we were the feather girls.
And I really enjoy how you were saying about, tall girls out there, put on your heels and love it. Or being a showgirl, funny
Feather
enough,
backpacks.
it's rather useful being rather tall.
Rather useful, yes. I wasn't the tallest one amongst us.
What weren't you any good at? And what was it at drama school? Not drama school, what was it at university?
In life, generally. I had a problem with singing. Big problem with singing.
I find that extraordinary.
I was always told through school, that I couldn't sing. Because I tried to join the senior choir and, of course, I can't sing soprano and that's what they were looking for. So that was all a bit of a disaster. But that chip didn't go away for a very, very long time. And sometimes if I'm feeling a little under par, which we all are, and we're all a little underconfident in something, that little voice comes back and says, you can't really do that, can you?
Mm.
And I kept thinking, well, I'm sure I can hold a tune because I sing along with things on the radio. And at university, they said, oh, yeah, you can sing, but you've got a very low voice. Ever so low. You're like a high tenor. It's like, oh, thanks. And then I had a massive break for years and years and years and years. And when all through my 20s and into my 30s, I could sing up a storm as long as it didn't go above a certain note. Then there was a real area of horribleness that used to happen. And then I had a different voice at the top. And I'd auditioned for, Witches of Eastwick when it first came out. And Kevin Amos was the musical director. And my agent at the time phoned me and said, Kevin Amos wants your home number. Is it all right to give it to him? I said, yes. Well, I had visions of, because I knew I hadn't got a recall, devastated. And he phoned me at home on a Sunday and said, I don't think anyone's ever told you this. You got a rotten break. He said, you've got to do something about it. Stop fanning around and get on with it.
Wow.
Go and see a decent teacher and get rid of that break. I was devastated, obviously.
How old were you at this point?
I was in my early 30s, I think. Late 20s. I can't remember. When was Witches of Eastwick?
90s, I would have thought.
Yeah, so, yeah. Around, yeah,
One of my
late 20s, early
favourite
30s.
shows.
And
And actually perfect for you. Now I think about it.
Now, if I was, people say I'd love to be 20 again. I wouldn't, but I'd like to be this. I'd like to be what I am now. At 20 years old, I'd be unstoppable.
It sounds
Wouldn't we all? Wouldn't we all, though? You know,
then,
hindsight is always 20/20.
But then I don't know. Without all of these.
Everything makes you what you are. Everything goes together to make you what you are. Anyway, I cried for a bit, thinking, I said, Mo, do you really think is it a waste of time? Should I just give up? And I'd been going for jobs and not getting them. And he said, why do you think I'm phoning you? I have got better things to do with my day on a Sunday than to phone people who didn't get through an audition.
Yeah.
And he said, it's just that I think no one's ever told you. And he said, go and sort it out. So I did. And he was right. The minute I sorted it out, my work changed. And then I changed my agent and everything else changed in my life at that point. My mum died and the buck suddenly stopped with me and I had nothing else that I had to attach me to anything. And that's quite an odd place. It's an odd state to be in. And you can go under with it, and it's very easy. Or you can say, right, here we go. This is a big old open field of opportunity. And I worked my bits off.
Do you think that was to stop grieving, to take your attention somewhere else?
Maybe.
Because, of course, lose your dad so young, and then to be at such a, what seems like a tricky part of your life, to then lose your mum.
Yeah.
You know, some other people very easily go under.
Oh, yeah, it's very easy to do that. And I'm not saying that I'm better equipped or better or worse or anything. We all deal with things differently. And I somehow changed everything. It gave me the impetus to stop making excuses.
An understanding
for
of
things.
mortality, sort of.
Yeah, and thought, okay, there's not much time left. I've got to crack on with this living thing. I've got to crack on with all the changes. Oh, well, I'm good. We all do it. Oh, look at the state of me. I can't get into my jeans. Oh, I'll just eat these Pringles and then I'll. Or you need to tidy a cupboard out and you think, oh, God, I'll just watch this on the telly and then I'll. And suddenly there comes a moment where you go, no. I've got to do that now. I've got to do that thing now. And I changed my agent and I changed various other things in my theatrical arsenal. I ramped a whole load of things up. I changed my singing. I went to different classes. I went to different people. And all of a sudden, it actually was really all of a sudden. My mother died in the April. I changed my agent in the August. And by November, I was in rehearsals for Mamma Mia.
That's extraordinary.
It was just, and it gutted me that my mum never saw Mamma Mia. She'd have loved it.
Tell me, for people out there that are having a tough time, and if people have had a really rum deal with training and they have got things in their personal life, other than that really inspiring attitude you were just saying about I'm going to change that now, what else can actors do to fulfill that hole that can be inside, either through the loss of a relative?
It's
or bad
really
training?
hard because I'm no psychologist, I'm no psychiatrist. I can only speak for what worked for me and for people that I know. And some people need support groups and some people don't. And I think the thing to do is to not beat yourself up about what you need and to take as long as you need to do things. Learning is always, as an actor, if you're trying to move on from a situation you don't like, get rid of all the negative people in your life. That's easier said than done. But stop. Somebody said to me, prune the rose bush. Prune the rose bush. Get rid of all those thorns. There's loads of thorns. And it might be someone that you've been at school with all your life and you've known since you were a small child. Who's that one person that says, oh, well, haven't you got it out of your system yet? You're going to get a proper job. Or, oh, didn't it work out? Or somebody else who's similar to you, who undermines you in the industry. Just look after you. Know yourself as well as you can know yourself, because then that's your best defence to anything and your best strength. Because I now know what I bring to the party. I was talking to Matthew Strachan this morning, funnily enough.
Oh.
They wrote, as you know, about Bill for me. And that was an absolute turning point in my career. It didn't bring me any more work or any less work. It didn't alter the way people observed what I do. It altered me. 100% completely and irrevocably changed my life. I now know what I bring. I now know what I am. I know what I'm not. I know what I'm not good at. And it gave me a different kind of confidence. So learn from everybody, but know you well.
It was Shakespeare that wrote Know Thyself,
Know thyself. It's hard, though, because we're very bad about doing that. We're very good at being down on ourselves and going, oh, I'm rubbish. Oh, God, I'm so awful. I'm terrible. That's a British thing. It's self-deprecating. Oh, sorry, never mind. Don't mind me. I'm just having a go. Well, that's all very well and good. But then somebody else, say an American friend of mine, who says, "Oh yeah, that's great. I'm currently filming very exciting times," and you think, "Oh my God, they're doing a film." No, they're doing a dog food commercial. We'd be saying, "Oh, I'm doing this commercial. Ooh, I don't do very much in it. I'm just at the back."
Yeah.
And there's a difference. I'm not saying blow your own trumpet till everyone sticks their fingers in their ears, but celebrate your own achievements and don't think, oh God, I'm not beautiful enough. My figure's not great. I'm not this. I've got a wonky eye. My teeth are awful. Stop it. There are enough people that are going to do that to you. So just try and be comfy in this. It took me a long time to grow into this body. I'm making, you can't see me. I'm doing up and down with my hands gestures along from head to boots. And
we'll do a bonus audio description track afterwards. Kim
don't
Ismay
do that.
is currently beveling.
I was born beveling.
When in doubt, bevel out.
When in doubt, bevel out. Yeah, so, it took me a long time to grow into me. And I'm more ambitious than I was when I was in my 20s. I want everything. I want to do everything. I'm never bored. I want everything, really. Greedy.
Never. Obviously, Kim is going to be with us for the entire show. But now, just a little message.
Hi, this is David Bedella, and you're listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keats.
Kim Ismay, may I say, I've always thought you have the most marvellous tips.
Why, thank you, kind sir.
Well, the most marvellous...
She said, fanning herself and blushing.
Most marvellous theatrical tips.
I do have very theatrical tips.
And so I'm going to kick off with our October theatrical tips. That's right, here are just some of my theatrical tips of things that I think you should be spending your cold hard cash on this October. Martin Freeman, Lee Evans and Bertie Carvel are among the stars who will perform scenes from Shakespeare's plays to raise funds for the UN refugee agency UNHCR. The performance, called Whither Would You Go, is inspired by the 500th anniversary of Shakespeare's refugee speech, which was written as a call for tolerance during the 1517 London riots. The gala event will take place at the Harold Pinter Theatre on October 22nd in response to recent refugee video stories. It'll be directed by Jamie Lloyd, who said, "Whither Would You Go" uses the words of William Shakespeare to highlight our shared humanity. When we focus on what we all have in common, we can start a conversation. With more than 65 million forcibly displaced people in the world, the highest levels ever recorded, we should be talking and we should be acting. Further casting is to be announced. Visit atgtickets.com to book now. Now in its 9th consecutive year, the multi-award-winning Finborough Theatre presents Vibrant 2017, a festival of Finborough playwrights, its annual explosion of new writing, performing on Sundays, Mondays and Thursdays from the 8th to the 26th of October. Concentrated solely on full-length works for the stage, Vibrant 2017, a festival of Finborough playwrights, continues to introduce you to some of the fascinating, diverse, vibrant voices that they have nurtured. A unique opportunity to go behind the scenes at one of the UK's most exciting theatres as they continue to discover and develop tomorrow's plays today, brought to life by some of the UK's most talented actors and directors. Visit finboroughtheatre.co.uk for a full listing of the many stage readings available to see. Emmy and Tony Award-winning singer and actress Kristen Chenoweth will bring her boundless talent and charisma to the London Palladium for a very special one-off show on the 20th of October 2017 with an unforgettable evening of her favourite songs. Chenoweth, who originated the role of Glinda, the Good Witch in Broadway's smash hit Wicked, Chenoweth will bring her powerful voice to the Palladium for an intimate performance of popular songs from Broadway to the Great American Songbook, accompanied, of course, by a pianist. An intimate show up close and personal. It's a rare chance to see her and hear one of Broadway's greatest. Visit ctickets.com to book tickets.
Hi, this is Annette Badland, and you're listening to the Show People podcast with Andrew Keats.
Thank you, Annette. So let's talk about entering the business. What was the very first job you had professionally in the theatre?
In the theatre? Well, the very first job professionally I had was showgirl. And then I came back with my equity card. I was very excited about that. And it was sort of towards the end of the summer, beginning of the autumn. And I auditioned for Panto. Oh, yes, I did.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Oh, yes, I did. And it's now behind me. Oh, see what I did there. Ta-boom, tis. I auditioned for Panto, Cinderella at the Swansea Grand. And that was a long time ago. And I got it. And I was in the ensemble, no cover, loving my life. And Roy Barraclough was one of the Ugly Sisters. And Paul Henry, Benny from Crossroads, was the lovable Buttons with his little knitted hat. And we had a marvellous time. And in those days, Pantos, it's the early 80s now, Pantos used to go on much longer than they do now.
How long?
Oh, how long, I hear you ask. We started at the end of November, so beginning of December, and we finished on March the 2nd. I swear to you, Easter eggs were in the shop, and there was one patter song between the two ugly sisters where they'd sort of talk about what they got for Christmas. And Roy Barraclough's partner in crime at the time said to him, "Oh, and what did you get for Christmas?" He said, "Oh, do you know, it's been so long, I can't remember. It's months, love. The Easter eggs are in the shops." So it was long, but it was full all the way through to March.
They still do go on a bit today. Like,
No, not to March.
No,
Dear
but
God.
February they do. And I find
Yes.
often I get invited to lots of pantos at Christmas, and when a friend says, "Do you want to come to a panto?" You, as an artistic director, you don't say no, because obviously
No.
it's a great showcase sometimes for
It's
other work.
useful. You can see people do things you might not be able to see. No, seriously, they really don't need to go on past January.
But also, nobody should be expected to sing along to a car singing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas" on Valentine's Day, because that's a strange thing.
Explaining pantomime to people who are not from the UK is quite tricky sometimes. It's a fairy story, and a man dresses up as a woman, and a woman will dress up as a man, and there's lots of songs from current TV shows, and you can see them. You've lost them already.
And there's a mess scene, and there's always a ghost.
And there's a ghost, and it's always behind you, and there's always somebody falling over. Oh, lovely. Yes, good. But I love... And panto, of course, I love it because it's very often children's first experience of seeing live theatre.
Mm.
And it's easy to understand, and then you can eat crisps in the audience and have a laugh. Panto's fine for that.
And gin, of course, of which
Gin.
you are the world's biggest fan.
I don't know where you got that idea from.
I almost wrote to Gordon's Gin to ask if they would sponsor today's podcast.
Gordon's, yes, hello.
I know it'd be Tanqueray, and I'm well aware
Tanqueray
of that.
10 is rather nice.
So we've spoken about the first professional job. Now let's
Yes.
talk about, which you were eager to talk to me about before we started recording. I would like to know, on the rare occasions between jobs, resting, I believe they call it.
Yeah, nothing restful about it, yes.
What's been some of the more unusual jobs you've done to, pay the phone bill?
To pay the phone bill.
Get the lucky bill sorted.
Oh, I've done a variety of awful things, awful jobs. Because I'm technically unskilled labour, you see, I can't type. Those of you that have ever received an email from me will know this to be true. I can't type. I can't really use switchboards very adequately.
I don't think they use switchboards anymore, Kim Ismay.
That shows you how long ago it is that I thank God I had to do it. The first reception job I ever had a doll's eye switchboard. You know, the one with the long strings poking them in the I felt like I was in a war film.
Well, it's all in the cloud now.
I cut someone off. I connected somebody to the person that didn't want to speak to them. I was a complete disaster. So I was relegated to all these temp jobs that were like filing or bringing people sandwiches or gophers. I quite like being runners and gophers for companies because you can get out and about and get a bit of fresh air. I worked in the laundry of an old people's home once or twice. I was a relief breakfast cook for another old people's home, making toast for various elderly people, which was actually quite nice. I didn't mind that.
You're basically saying that your favourite jobs in the office were when you didn't have to be in the office.
Oh, yeah.
And cooking toast.
Oh, no, absolutely. I love cooking toast. I worked for Ticketmaster for quite a long time, on and off. So a friend of mine used to be quite high up in Ticketmaster, and he said, "Oh, go and do that." And I didn't mind being on the phones, but they then pulled me off the phones to do complaints because I was quite calm and mellow with people on the phone. And they said, "Oh, you handle complaints ever so well. Why don't you go into the complaints department?" No, that is the most depressing place to be because everybody that phones up is cross.
Yes.
Everybody that phones up wants to shout at you. And I thought, I went to school. I don't need to do this in my real life. So I used to volunteer at all times. Sorry, anyone from Ticketmaster, if you're listening. I used to volunteer at all times for the Cobos, which is the care of box office tickets, which means you'd go into the office, they'd give you a great big box of tickets, which you then had to go to all the theatres and take them physically to... This was before the days of everybody printing everything out. Nowadays, they just press a button and it prints out, but you used to have physical tickets you used to have to take round. So I'd say, "These are the care of box office tickets." And you'd go into the next theatre and then you'd walk to the next theatre.
Did you ever get them mixed up? All these poor people who wanted the Mousetrap ended up going to see The Lion King.
Do you know, the worst thing that ever happened at Ticketmaster was nothing to do with me. Thank goodness. But I was one of the people who volunteered to sort out the mess because Ticketmaster obviously also do lots of the major sporting events, and it was Rugby World Cup Or is it the World Cup in rugby?
I'm the wrong person to ask.
I really am. Why are we talking about rugby, for God's sake? It was some immense rugby match at Twickenham. Everybody was very into it. It was very important. And they'd been printing them off and enveloping them up late at night. And it had all gone horribly wrong. And when you tear off a ticket, when they come out on a long printout, if you tear off the wrong stub with the wrong ticket, it all goes wrong. Very badly wrong. They'd had to recall everything, and then we had to pull an all-nighter reprinting the tickets and making sure they were correct with the correct order and stub and number and seats that people had booked. It was awful. That was awful.
Tell me about some of the inbound inquiries you had working for Ticketmaster.
Yeah. People don't always think before they phone. When you answer the phone for a major ticketing agency, you have to say you're from that major, that you are through to, for instance, Ticketmaster. You're through to Ticketmaster. My name is Kim. How can I help you today? And somebody said, what time does it finish? What time does what finish? Can we be a little more specific? The play. Okay, still not. It's a little narrower. It's not Millwall versus Everton then. And it's not Eric Clapton live at the O2. Okay, it's a play. So I'm frantically looking at my lists of which plays were on. And I said, you are through to the central ticketing office, not the actual theatre. Could you just give me a bit of a help as to which play? Oh, well, if you can't be bothered to help me, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she said, she put the phone down. I still don't know whether she knew what time it finished.
I think it was me, you and Joe Davenport, think, all met up for a gin.
We did, I remember.
And I remember saying, because of course there is a little bit of snobbery about Mamma Mia. And
There's a bit of snobbery about a lot of musicals, but yes, I know where you're coming from.
I just wanted to say, as somebody who was in it for years and
7.5
loved that job.
Yeah.
What comes into your mind when you hear people going, oh, it's only Mamma Mia, or they slag it off?
You know what? It's horses for courses. Some people hate Shakespeare, some people hate Chekhov, some people hate all musicals. And I want to say to them, then don't go. Don't send a vegetarian to review a steak restaurant. If you don't like a certain genre, don't force yourself.
No.
You're only going to make yourself miserable. The thing that I love about Mamma Mia, and I've said this before, is it does what it says on the tin. It doesn't pretend to be anything it isn't. I've been to see, again, musicals which will remain nameless in the past, who purport to be high art and it's all very intense and marvellous and everything. But Mamma Mia says, effectively, come with us and let's have a good time. It doesn't promise you that you're going to be moved to tears, although a lot of people are. It doesn't promise that it's going to change the world or your life. It's not brain surgery, we know that. But what it does do is to make you happy.
Yeah.
It makes you laugh. It makes you, and everybody can see themselves on stage. Whether you're tall, short, fat, thin, black, white, whatever you are, gay, straight, one of you or one of your family or one of your best mates is one of those characters. The number of people that used to come around to me and say, oh my God, look here, and they drag one of their group forward. That's you, that's Tanya.
She's a right slag, my man.
Now, here's the thing. Now, this is the thing. Tanya is not a slag.
Oh, go on. No?
She's been married 3 times.
Mm. She's just hopeless.
She's just hopeless. She just gets it wrong. But nowhere does it say that she sleeps with everything. She makes a bit of a noise about stuff and she has a little bit of a fling with Pepper, but you never know what happened with Pepper. No. Pepper says everything went on, but that's for the Tanya and the Pepper in each cast to decide how far it went.
You see, I think this is the same discourse that I've had with people about Chekhov.
Tanya is not a slag.
Tanya's not a slag. That might just be the episode title. Kim Ismay, Tanya is not a slag.
She's not. I've had a lovely time in Wicked. I've just been on this fabulous, fabulous international tour. And on Monday, which I think is the day the podcast goes out.
Yes.
So today...
or unless you're listening a very old version.
On Monday the 9th, I start rehearsals for the UK tour.
Wonderful.
Although we also had winter in Zurich. So that's very grand.
What is it that makes that show so popular? Why are people still skipping out of that theatre in love with that and return visits?
Beautifully written. The music is beautifully written. It is beautifully orchestrated. The orchestration, if you ever have, the band call it's just something else to be in that room with that orchestration. And it has a great heart, and it's very, very relevant, particularly in the current political climate, which I'm not about to get into.
I don't know. I think that's I think maybe you should. If you're talking about racism and stigma, I can think of no better musical.
It's all about owning who you are and not being put down for what you are and for being different, not fearing the different, and not bullying or being foul to somebody because their skin's a different colour or they have a different way of looking at things, agreeing to disagree. And it's mostly about friendship and love and things that stand the test of time, relationships, whatever that relationship may be, whether it's a romantic or a friendship or a paternal one. Do they stand the pace of time and the test of time? It is a beautiful story, and it's also it's actually very funny in places as well. People,
apples and melons and pears.
Oh yes, that's a very. If you know your Wizard of Oz, there's so many jokes, and so many musical jokes.
Endless
little musical sniggery things if you're a real Wizard of Oz aficionado. But equally, we went to China where they've never grown up with the Wizard of Oz. Manila, don't know it. They don't. Cultures where the Wizard of Oz is not part of their childhood as it is with us, and it made no difference. They loved it for what it is. And it sounds beautiful and it looks beautiful and it has a really, really strongly beating heart.
Talking about childhood,
yes.
Of course you were in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I was. Oh, I love the Baroness. She's so hopeless. You get to work with the car.
Did you get to go in it when it flew?
Yes. Because you have to test Chitty to make sure she can fly properly without giving any secrets away.
Right.
Just make sure that, she can take off beautifully and spin about. And her choreography, she does her choreography once a day just to practice. Chitty rehearses. And it helps if there's someone in it for the weight.
So you have me.
There's a list. There's an actual list. Well, there was when I did it. There was a list and you could put yourself on the list.
To have a flying Chitty.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, I've flown in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
And the last thing I'm going to ask, because of course the CV is full of wonderful things.
It's full of weird things as well. I played a roller skating sperm and a tree.
Guys, if you haven't seen... go on YouTube and search for Margaret Thatcher, the musical.
Is it on YouTube?
The whole thing.
You're kidding me.
And Caroline
O'Connor, Let's Go Fight Argentina.
Yes.
And I was Thatcher the Milk Snatcher.
Is Paul Baker in it? I glanced Paul. I mean, you're all so young.
Michael Gingell.
Is
Andrew Thomas James, who's no longer with us. It was a cast of thousands, and it was hilarious.
Where did you
I had to
film
roller
that?
skate in it. I swear to you, if you knew how bad I was at skating, this would be much more amusing. I put me on wheels or blades, and I am Bambi on acid. I swear to God, I cannot balance. So there's all these. You'll be able to see which sperm I am. Everyone skates across in a long line with some kind of style. And then there's one sperm skittering along at the back with its hands held out in front of it with its fingers splayed, terrified. That was me.
If you are interested in this, it's brilliantly written by Howard Goodall. Margaret Thatcher, the music. What was it for?
10 Glorious Years. It was a programme for BBC Two, 10 Glorious Years. Paul Z. Jackson produced it, and Howard Goodall wrote the music for this segment, which was Margaret the Musical. And it was a beautifully written pastiche of all the current musicals.
It's superb.
And obviously the roller skating band was Starlight. And some of Howard Goodall's lyrics were hilarious.
He's brilliant.
Oh, it was just joyous.
It is on YouTube. Type in Margaret Thatcher the musical.
I didn't realise that. How hilarious!
I didn't. Well, I'll put it on later over dinner. I didn't think I'd be making this announcement. But if you'd like to see Kim Ismay as a sperm, get onto YouTube. That one's not on the CV as well. Kim Ismay.
No, it's under 10 glorious years for the BBC because it sounds frightfully much more exciting. And I've been a tree. I was in The Wizard of Oz. I was a tree.
At what age?
An apple tree. Oh no, recent. The 90s, RSC Wizard of Oz. I was described in the Financial Times as Runyonesque.
Oh, right.
Yes. Because it had a sort of accent like that. My tree kind of spoke a little like it was in Guys and Dolls.
What are some of the talents that perhaps aren't on your CV that perhaps you might like to share
Things I'm
with
really
me?
good at. There was an audition for, what's it called?
Rock of Ages.
No. No, pretty crazy for you. And we'd all done the dance audition and they were going along the line and the choreographer was saying, so, do you have any tricks? Can you do? I thought, yes, I can do a back walkover. I can do a hand flip. Oh, can you flip the arrow round off on an arrow spring? Oh, can you? He's going along the line and it's getting perilously close to me who has no tricks. No tricks that I make a mean risotto, but I mean, you can't really muscle that up in the middle of a show. And the girl before me said, oh, yeah, I do aerial work and silks and I fire eat. And I just looked at her and he came towards me and I said, I can knit. Mercifully, he laughed, thought it was hilarious. He said, I don't think there's a part in there where we can work that in.
I'm going to give it 5 years. You're going to be at the National Theatre and you are going to be knitting on stage.
From your mouth to God's ears. I haven't worked at the National. I'd quite like to work there.
We'll put in a good word. Anybody
Thanks.
from the National listening?
Oh, yeah, come on.
Come on, give Kim Ismay a job. She's been a sperm.
Come on. I've been a sperm, I've been a tree, I've been a Nazi.
One thing I do want to ask you about, because those who are listening to the last episode of the Show People podcast heard me effusively speak about a wonderful show at the Landor Theatre, which I was very fortunate to be co-running at the time, called About Bill, which was written by our mutual friends,
Matthew Strachan
and Bernie Gorn. And just tell our listeners a little bit about Bill. I spoke a little bit about it in the last episode. But
Bill is a trumpeter.
So much.
Bill is a trumpeter, a jazz trumpeter. And obviously you never meet him because the story is told by all the women in his life, from the first character, Stella, who is his mother, who finds out she's pregnant with him. That's how it starts. And the final character is his daughter, who is a singer-songwriter in Los Angeles, and she has just delivered the eulogy at his funeral. So it's literally topping and tailing his entire life. And it's all the women. He's such a terrible character, but you can't help loving him. There's a little bit of all the old rockers and jazz boys in there. And it goes through the ages. It nips through the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. And you played my favourite character.
That's why it's Gloria. Song.
There's something about that song, which is the whole scene is the song, really. And that for me was that was really what changed me, Gloria. And Matthew and I find it very difficult to talk about it without getting quite emotional, because it says everything, that song. It says everything. It's beautiful. The whole thing was beautifully written. And it being written for me, everything suited my voice really well. And it's all the different women, how they meet Bill or what they think of him or what the terrible things that he does to them all.
I have such happy memories. It's where we first got to know each other.
It was
one of my favourite things would be, of course, and I do this now as a director, is always listening to what an audience is saying as they leave, because of course that's where you get your best notes.
And the thing is, I can't do. That's the one thing I can't do.
Well, the amount of people who would come down, and there would often be
did it for me.
Quite older people coming down and going, wasn't that was marvellous. Bill Fitzgerald, always been an enormous fan, and you wanted to just go, he's not real.
It's not real. Well, that's the biggest compliment. I made him real. Clearly, I made him real. And of course, there's a track on the album, like a bonus track that's not in the show, called Dots Bop, which is one of his big hits.
Yeah.
And of course, but he's not real.
It's typical Matthew Strachan creating these incredible lives.
It's the backstories for everything that are just extraordinary. They're clever people.
I cannot stress enough. I know I did in the last episode, but please go on iTunes or I think it's matthewstrachan.co.uk. I certainly gave the address in the previous episode with Steve First, where you can actually hear Kim singing the song we're talking about. About Bill, I'm not sure how much it is. It won't be too much, probably no more than a tenner. Just buy the album. It is one of the best. Well, no, I've said
It's
to you
beautiful.
for years, it's the finest one-woman show I have ever had the privilege to be involved in.
Thank you. Thank you. That's lovely.
Absolutely
That's lovely.
well meant.
It was one of those times where it was really hard work because I was rehearsing for it while I was doing Mamma Mia, and then I took 2 weeks off.
Yes, you were.
I did my 2-week holiday, and I took the week of the technical and getting it on, and the week of performances. But it was exhausting. And I wasn't well either. I had some kind of terrifying virus which made me cough and splutter. But it was extraordinary. And, she hasn't gone away. None of them have gone away. They're all bubbling.
From one wonderful composer that we covered last week to another, it's time for the Show People platform, bringing you a composer or a playwright that you may not necessarily have heard of. And please, we haven't had any playwrights work on the Show People podcast yet. It's early days, but don't feel like it is just a podcast for musical theatre. It is not. It is for all aspects of the theatre. So please, if you've written something and you're a playwright and you can get a recording, it only need be on your iPhone. I'd be delighted to play it to our listeners for any feedback. Today's platform is given to Alexander Beaumont and his new album Wit and Whimsy, which boasts national treasures Miriam Margolyes, Christopher Biggins and Nigel Planer, famous faces from the small screen including Ben Richards, Tracy Bennett and Phil Daniels, plus current stars in many West End musicals. All of the tracks are written by Alexander, who has acquired a formidable following, I think it's fair to say, with just a few million radio listeners. He's made many appearances both on BBC Radio 4 and the BBC World Service with his comic songs. Further writing credits for Alexander include West End musicals, theatre productions all over the UK and internationally, and even a show written overnight at the personal behest of Kevin Spacey. Must ask Alexander about that. The album Wit and Whimsy comprises Alexander's most popular comedic musical creations. Many humorously depict aspects of musical theatre itself, such as songs called Audition, A Serious Actor, The Opening Number, and It's Lovely Being a Lovey. Others are portraits of crazy characters, such as obsessive train spotters, tone-deaf singers, or would-be fairy tale princesses. He really is an extraordinary composer. I adore his work. And today's song is performed by a wonderful lady also associated with Wicked. She's currently appearing as Miss Honey in Matilda at the Cambridge Theatre, and that is Miss Gina Beck. Hello, Gina, if you are listening. And she is performing I Wish That My Life Were Like a Musical by Alexander Beaumont.
I dreamed a dream like every young girl has, that I was certain would come true one day, of stardom and success and all that jazz, so I could pay the bills I'd have to pay. But that isn't quite the way things are. No auditions yet worked out for me. I still long to be a superstar and dream of how I'd love my life to be. I wish that my life were like a musical, that I could go waltzing through in style. With each song and dance I'd be less miserable. With each sound of music I'd smile. The good would make good, the bad would get their due, and steam trains would race, and pussies wouldn't poo, and foreigners always would speak English too. For once I'd not fear the routine. My life would be fit for a queen. I wish that my life were like a Broadway show, for then I would always know the score, and I could predict how it was sure to go. If I'd seen the movie before, I'd be as attractive as a girl could be, and recognize bad guys by their minor key. With enemies, I'd still be in harmony, and anything urgent would wait till after a big middle eight. I could cast spells, tyrants would adore me, ghosts would write operas for me. I'd get through songs not fearing, ever hearing, we'll let you know, with still a verse to go. I wish that my life were like a West End hit, where others had thoughts the same as mine, and all that I said need not make sense one bit, as long as it just about rhymed. The guys would show feelings that they used to hide. I'd still want to sing with corpses by my side. Well, I'd even sing if I myself had died. I'd live without scruples or shame, and say that the writer's to blame. But then, if my life were like a musical, I might be orphaned, treated mean, or trampled on by wildebeests, or sold to be a slave, or green. I might be killed by my own twin, or made into a pie mid-show, or fed to plants, or crucified, or made to sing with Russell Crowe. I might, I know, but even so, I wish that my life were like a musical, where I felt at home in every key. I'd not have to trek to any place at all. Projections would just come to me. I'd get sentimental without cause to fear that boyfriends will puke at every word they hear. My voice would be pleasing to a phantom's ear. I wish that my life were this way, for then if my life were like a musical, I know there would be a whole show about me, with a part I'd be perfect to play.
Lovely. So let's talk about the future. What's coming up? So you're doing the UK tour of Wicked next.
I am doing the UK tour of Wicked next. I'm finally allowed to say so.
Hurrah!
Hooray! Because it's been released. I've known for a while, which has been lovely. And I'm very grateful. I'm very lucky. And no, not lucky. You work hard for your luck. I'm very fortunate to be re-offered a job that I love, and with lovely costumes. And we're wintering in Zurich. We're spending Christmas and New Year in Zurich. So my house sitters are thrilled. So they get some more work. They drink me out of gin, then they replace it, and they tidy up.
You've basically got house elves.
Win-win.
You've got house elves.
Do you know what? Don't call them that. I called Steve Dobby the house elf once, and he wasn't very happy. Yes, so that then goes on tour in the UK. We are coming to a town near you.
Imagine there is no such thing as casting directors, and a producer sits down with his big fat cigar and goes, "You can play any role you want.
Any goddamn role you want."
What would it be?
I'm too old for a lot of roles now. I flatter myself that I don't look my age, but I am my age. And when you put me next to other people who are in their early 40s, mid 40s, I don't look. I suddenly look like somebody's nana. I don't. There are fewer roles, especially in musical theatre, for older women.
But do the roles get better? That's my question.
Yeah, I think they do. This is all part of knowing yourself, I think, as well. There's no point being sad that you can't play this role, that role, because you can't sing soprano, haven't got blonde hair, aren't 5'2". You have to just be you as hard as you can and hope for the best. I was never the pretty leading girl. I have a character face, I've always been told.
What does that even mean?
I'm a bit on... Well, everything is not quite... I'm not classically... I don't have a classic straight face. I'm a bit on the wonk and nothing's very... I'm not a pretty girl.
You're not a Picasso, though.
No, but I haven't got an ear growing out the front of my head or anything. But, you know, I'm recognisable as a person, put it that way, for the most part. Unless you see me first thing in the morning. Everyone hits their peak to everything at times. Some people hit their peak straight out of drama school. They are perfect as the young, fabulous lead. But then it tailors off and they don't work after they're 40. Other people come to it later, and I'm hoping that I will now work until I collapse in a heap of bones and dust. Typecasting is an annoying thing because you want to say, yes, but I can do this. I've done Shakespeare. I can do this. But if you are being typecast, the critical part of that is cast. Mm-hmm. And at least you're working.
Now, you said you are going on tour and you've just come back. I always ask my actors, what... if you were stranded in Whitley Bay, would be your favourite things to take? And of course, you're not going to be stranded in Whitley Bay. You're going to be stranded all over the UK.
All over the UK. I'm going to be stranded hither and yon.
So in reality, what would be your favourite album to take with you whilst touring with
God,
Wicked?
you see, I knew you were going to ask me this and I don't know. I have such a bizarre and eclectic taste in music. I looked at my playlist the other day and there's everything from, I don't know, Ariana Grande to Ricky Martin to RuPaul. I mean...
They're all quite similar.
Are they really?
They're all a bit camp.
I don't know, what do you mean?
What are you inferring?
What do you mean? I have relaxation tapes. I have... Oh, I don't know. I really, really don't know. I might have to go with that music altogether just because I can't choose. Or Mozart. I mean, I've got Mozart, I've got Bach, I've got... I literally would find it the most difficult thing in the world to choose an album.
Could you go with a film?
Yes, I could go with a film. I could go with several films. I'm only allowed one, aren't I? I think it would have to be Singing in the Rain.
Yeah. Well, which of course you did.
I did do. I was the Miss Dinsmore, the vocal coach. I did Moses Supposes.
Of course you did.
I did. Using my tap dancing abilities to great effect. I love it. I absolutely love it. And Lena Hagen is just incredible.
The stories that surround that film.
Jean Hagen, Lena Lamont, she's incredible. Lena Hagen, listen to me, I'm such an old nana.
And Haagen-Dazs.
Haagen-Dazs, my favourite flavours, yeah.
And what would be the book that you'd take?
Dithery. I would like to take with one of my comfort... I have several comfort books that are old friends. If I'm not well, I either read any of the What Katie Did stories.
Oh, yeah.
There's 5 of them. People mostly know 3, but there are 5. If I can take those 5...
In a compendium?
I'd take those. But if I'm only allowed one book, I would take the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, which is about to be made into a film. So
great title.
It's fabulous.
Good luck
it's
to
in the
anyone
form of
remembering
letters. And it's this author's only book. She died before she edited. So her niece finished it for her. And it's enchanting.
And if you could take a play, what would it be?
A play. I think it would have to be a piece of Shakespeare. Maybe Romeo and Juliet.
Bit of a romantic at heart?
Maybe. Yeah. Beautifully written. Yeah. I think
you'd make a tremendous nurse.
Wouldn't I, though?
Wouldn't you just?
Yes, I'd be nice Lady Capulet as well. She'd have a nicer costume as well. Nurse would be a bit old and baggy, wouldn't she, really?
No, but she's the best role. Or gets the biggest laughs.
She does. What are you saying? You're saying I play things for laughs?
I am saying...
You're saying I play things for laughs?
I am implying that you might just be rather good at comedy.
Thanks. Yeah, if it's funny, I'll do it.
And what would be the musical? What would be the musical that would keep you happy?
Well, I've already got Singing in the Rain, so that's one.
That's the film.
That's the film. A musical. Can I take it on a film, or do I have to take the...
Entirely up to you, the recording format. We haven't specified that.
I'll take the film then, and I'll take West Side Story.
And the luxury item?
Well, either a sewing kit well stocked with fabrics, so I can make some stagey dollies as my little side arm, or a pair of tweezers. My luxury item would be a pair of tweezers.
And why is that?
Well, because you can always make sure that your eyebrows are on point. And
I'm hardly the expert there.
And you can take out any splinters you might get. And
True.
Pick things up you don't want to touch with your bare hands.
It's come to my favourite part of the show.
Okay.
And from what I hear, has been our listeners' favourite part of the show.
All right.
Where we have concentrated on all of the nooks and crannies of your life. And now it's time to really seek out a few more crannies.
Oh, Lord.
Kim Ismay, I have assembled the most obscure, nonsensical questions that my poor little mind
Fevered
can muster.
brain.
Fevered brain. It's time for another Show People challenge.
Oh, Lord.
Over just under 5 minutes, I'm going to ask you a succession of questions that are random, obscure, bizarre, bewildering, you name it. You are allowed to pass on 3 occasions.
Only on 3, okay.
You can pass 3 questions.
I'm going to save those and use them wisely.
You should, because you must answer these as quickly as possible. And of course, there is some famous Show People lift music in the back. Let's play Funny 5 Minutes.
Right.
Kim Ismay, what is your least favourite word?
Gusset.
What are the best kind of pants?
G-strings.
Where is the strangest place you've had a wee?
Great Wall of China.
Why?
There aren't any toilets on the Great Wall of China. So
mean, they haven't
in a pile of bushes.
Sweet or savoury?
Savoury.
Would you like to swim with sharks?
No. Oh, yes. I want to change my mind. Yes, I do, as long as I'm safe.
Fine, we'll arrange that after dinner.
Thanks.
What is the worst practical joke that has ever been played on you?
I don't think anyone's ever... Oh, they unlocked the bathroom door on me when I was in university. I was having a bath and they unscrewed the door and flung the door open. But they made such a racket at it that I did actually have a towel on by the time they got in.
What's the meaning of life?
The minute 42.
Excellent. Do you think a swan can actually break someone's arm?
Yes, they can. Absolutely.
can't.
Yes, they can.
You don't know somebody that's happened to.
I know someone that used to look after swans, though.
I don't believe this for a second.
It's true.
How do you like your eggs in the morning?
Cooked for me.
What is the best children's television show that you can remember?
Tales of the Riverbank.
Oh
no,
Molly.
Twizzle. Twizzle.
Oh no, Tales of the River.
Twizzle. Oh, yeah, everyone's too young. Everyone will be far too young to remember either of those.
No, it's true.
Tales of the Riverbank.
How many hamsters do you think died on that
Oh
show?
my God, I don't know, but they were sellotaped into planes and all sorts. Not real planes, people. Don't write in.
What was the last lie you told?
Pass.
That's a pass. What's your favourite Disney film?
Actually, I really like Robin Hood.
Robin Hood?
Yes.
Steve First
I
did
know,
the same thing?
he said it, and I listened to the podcast. I thought, oh my God, that's mine. You've stolen my favourite film. I'll say the same thing.
What's your filthiest joke?
My filthy... Pass.
There's a pass. Tell me later.
You horror.
If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
Oh, if I was this is really easy. Teleportation. Because then you could just go anywhere. You wouldn't have to pay to go on holiday. You could just transport yourself to the beach.
Who was your teenage crush?
My teenage crush was Robert Redford.
Robert Redford.
Yes.
Similar question. Have you ever been abducted by aliens?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge.
No.
If one song were to sum you up, what would it be?
The Lady's a Tramp.
Gin-soaked boy, yes, I can see. If you had to jump into a swimming pool filled with a liquid, what would it be?
Filled with a liquid. Gin.
Gin.
I don't drink my way out. I would never drown.
When you order a pizza, what is your order?
Oh, it's a Fiorentina with extra artichokes.
Why the extra artichokes?
Because I really like artichokes. It doesn't come on a Fiorentina.
What's the stupidest thing you've ever done?
Oh, God, they're far. I have so many stupid things I've done. Ordered a pizza without extra artichokes, probably.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
Yes.
This is where we pause. Tell me about seeing a ghost.
It's a cat. Ghost of a cat. And it was in my house. And my mother saw it too, and so did my cat. So that's why I know that something was there.
A ghost cat?
Yeah. I'd seen it before and I thought I was going mental. And my mum said to me, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I just thought I saw a cat." And she said, "Well, so did I." And this was before we had the cat. Then the cat adopted us and we had a real cat. And one day I was sitting on the sofa, on the floor actually, with my back against the sofa. Again, those people that know me know I sit against furniture rather than on it. And the cat was on my lap and my mum was sitting on the other side of the room. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw the ghost cat, for the want of a better word. It might have been mass hysteria, a mass hallucination, I don't know. But the cat went all spiky. The real cat, Jeremy, went all... I'm sorry, his name was Jeremy.
Jeremy the cat.
Jeremy the cat.
Who saw the ghost cat.
Went all spiky and followed the ghost cat along and then went behind the sofa to try and find it and came out very disgruntled that he couldn't find it.
Jeremy and the ghost cat.
It's a very odd... Sounds like a children's book. I think I might write it.
I think you should. You'll make millions.
So there we are. Back to the story. Yes,
Let's resume.
Yes.
And in our final 30 seconds, who is the most beautiful person you've ever kissed?
Oh, God, his name was Michael.
Who was Michael?
I can't tell you, because he used to be married to someone quite famous. She wasn't married to her at the time, obviously. It was when we were both very, very young.
What would your last meal be?
Unhurried.
How many pairs of shoes do you own?
Oh, God, I don't know. I'm a bit of an Imelda Marcos on the shoe front. Oh, dozens and dozens of pairs of shoes.
It's hundreds, isn't it?
Nearly.
And the famous show people question, would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
100 duck-sized horses? There is no other choice in this.
Tell me why, your justification of that.
Because they'd be easier to control, because they're smaller. And I think I could probably outrun them. But I think if it was a horse-sized duck, that would just... I'd laugh at it and then it would just sort of sit on me or something and I'd suffocate.
Well, there you have it.
That's really frightening.
I mean, no more frightening than ghost cat. So listeners...
Well, I'm sorry about the ghost cat. Listen, I don't know what it was. I thought I saw something and so did my cat at the same time in the same place. So
I'm really hoping that we can start getting #GhostCat trending on Twitter.
Ghost cat.
Oh, Kim Ismay and Ghost Cat.
Draw it. Oh, please, people, draw a picture of Ghost Cat.
Yeah, on tracing paper. It'll be translucent.
In white pencil. And send it to us.
Yes, do.
Yeah.
With #GhostCat.
Ghost Cat.
And Kim Ismay may respond with a sketch.
Everyone's going to think I'm bonkers now. I can't help it.
Did you say everyone may?
Everyone does.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that noise tells me that is sadly all the time that we have left. But before we go, I must say an enormous thank you to our special guests throughout today's wicked show. Please, my wonderful pre-recorded studio audience, go mad for the wonderful, the marvellous Miss Kim Ismay. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's great.
Absolute pleasure. Kim, tell me, how can people keep up to date with all that you're up to?
I am on Twitter, Kim Ismay, on Twitter, @KimIsmay, and I'm on Instagram, @KimIsmay. As I say, nothing if not inventive, but please don't ask to be my friend on Facebook, because I'll just ignore you.
That's right.
Nothing
Kim Ismay
personal.
doesn't want to be your friend. She's only my friend. This podcast is produced by Arian Productions Limited, dedicated to giving opportunities to theatre makers. If you love the podcast, or if you can support the work we do, and I would really appreciate this, please visit www.arian-productions.com/donate. And if you can sling us any cash whatsoever, I will invest that in future opportunities for theatre makers in the form of paid places on our productions, as well as masterclasses and events. The more money we can raise, the more that we can do. You can also help us if you're a little bit broke at the moment, because we've all been there, just by leaving an iTunes review, as that really helps with the algorithms on iTunes and helps us reach more listeners and possibly some more people who might have a cheeky tenner they can sling us. Lastly, please, if you have any comments, ideas, or things you want to send into the show, I'd be delighted to do what we can. You can reach us on Twitter, @AndrewKeats is my handle, or you can send me an email at info@arian-productions.com, or like the Show People page on Facebook at facebook.com/showpeoplepodcast, where you can join the listeners forum and find out about all things Show People. From all of us at the Show People podcast, until next time, thank you for listening, and remember, just be better.
I played a roller skating sperm and a tree.